Two massive armies clashed in an open field, turning the land into a slaughterhouse as soldiers fell by the thousands. Then, one man walked forward alone. His name was Asura, the Fist King. Ignoring the chaos around him, Asura calmly approached the enemy's general, treating the battlefield as if it were empty. Facing an army of 100,000, the general mocked him, convinced no single man could stand against such numbers. Asura didn't argue. He simply dismissed the idea. To him, numbers meant nothing in the face of true power. The order to kill him was given immediately. Asura never drew a weapon. He didn't need one. The moment he stepped forward, the battle ended. Murim elites were crushed effortlessly. When the dust settled, only Asura remained standing. From that moment, the Asura kingdom was born. Within a single year, Asura unified the entire world through strength alone. But absolute power invites betrayal. Under a full moon, Asura's advisor gathered him and his followers inside a hidden cave, being curious. Asura questioned why he had been brought there. Murim revealed a secret manual, claiming only Asura could withstand its power. The moment he reached for it, chains erupted and bound his limbs. The betrayal was complete. Murim declared his reign over and revealed her plan to seal him inside the celestial abyss, a prison meant to erase him forever. Enraged, Asura gathered all his power into a single fist, ready to kill her instantly. Before he could strike, a strange red substance surged forth, suppressing his power and enveloping his body. Resistance was pointless. Asura vanished. Moments later, his followers knelt before Murim, accepting her as the new ruler of the Asura kingdom. In the darkness, a blue screen appeared before Asura. He had been summoned as a player. His response was simple. He shattered it with his bare hand. Elsewhere, another man felt something awaken. Yuta had spent 3 years climbing a deadly tower. As a massive red dragon descended upon him, he reacted instantly. Using his system abilities, he countered its attacks and ended the battle with heaven's judgment. The boss of the 99th floor was dead. Only one floor remained. Clear it, and he could finally return home. Despite everything, unease crept in. When Yuta opened the door to the final floor, he didn't find a monster. He found a man, Asura, the Fist King. Assuming this was the final boss, Yuta attacked without hesitation. Every strike landed perfectly and did nothing. Even his strongest skill failed. Asura caught the blade with his bare hands. The system broke. Yuta's chance of victory dropped below 1%. Asura wasn't angry at Yuta. He was furious at the world, a world that measured strength through numbers. With a single punch, he shattered Yuta's status window, blew open the tower, and damaged the system itself. The numbers game was over. Yuta could only accept the truth. He was wrong. 3 years ago, Yuta was summoned to a tower. He climbed with friends until he was the only survivor. He asked the fairy Nova if defeating the tower would send him home. She said maybe, but spoke of a goddess, Asura, and that everything in the tower had a purpose. Back in the present, Yuta tries to open his system. Nothing happens. Asura watches, disappointed. Yuta begs for his life. Asura ignores him, asking what this place is and how to return to his world. Yuta explains the tower must be cleared from bottom to top. Taking it literally, Asura punches the floor. The top of the tower explodes. Yuta almost falls, but Nova catches him. The system labels Asura's presence illegal and tries to erase him. Asura stomps it aside. Yuta scolds him for destroying everything. A beam of light appears. Murim, now transformed, confronts Asura. Enraged, he swings, but she slams him to the ground effortlessly. Yuta realizes this is the goddess Asura. Asura rages at the numbers game and demands to go home. She laughs, saying clearing the tower never promised that. She warns, destroy everything she created, and only then will he be sent back. Using the system, she summons Yuta's former teammates. Yuta charges, but she blocks him easily, calling him trash. Asura destroyed only one tower. Many remain. The real challenge has just begun. Yuta snapped. Seeing his fallen teammates treated like toys, he shouted at the goddess and demanded an explanation. She casually swatted him aside and answered coldly that players were nothing more than pieces, tools she used to create a perfect world. She explained that the world she created was flawed, and that she couldn't change it alone. That was why she made the tower, why she forced players like Yuta to climb it through endless quests. Yuta was no longer useful. With his system gone, she tried to erase him. Regret flooded Yuta's mind. Regret for ever climbing the tower. Then suddenly, the goddess's arm vanished. Asura had punched it clean off. For the first time, the goddess was shocked. Asura thought that he judged Yuta too quickly. He charged forward and slammed his fist into her face, driving her into the ground and shattering the earth beneath her. Instead of anger, the goddess smiled. She was pleased by the power Asura displayed. Without a system, she declared she wouldn't stop him yet, and said she would wait for him at the highest point in this world. Then she disappeared. A memory surfaced in Asura's mind, Myowu asking him to conquer every country in the world. He knew that woman wasn't her, but the resemblance unsettled him. Back in the present, Yuta was surrounded by the ghosts of his fallen teammates. He tried to reason with them, but Nova stopped him, telling him they weren't real, only data. Yuta refused to accept it. Asura ended the hesitation with a single strike, blowing apart one of the figures, and telling Yuta there was no time for cannon fodder. He ordered Yuta to guide him to the remaining towers. Yuta hesitated, unwilling to leave his comrades behind, but Asura lost patience and told him these things were not his comrades. More ghosts rushed in. Asura moved to finish them, and suddenly felt it. His internal energy was gone. His dantian had been sealed. Asura laughed, realizing this was her test. Even without martial arts, he crushed the ghost with his bare hands. Yuta watched in disbelief. Even nerfed, Asura was still a monster, but the ghosts kept returning endlessly. Yuta made his choice. Ignoring Nova's warning, he joined the fight. A familiar voice called his name. Without hesitation, Yuta pierced the ghost's head. Tears fell, but his resolve hardened. He swore revenge. Together they fought. Asura drew the enemy's attention, while Yuta gathered everything he had left. Yuta unleashed heaven's judgment and erased every ghost at once. Silence followed. Asura nodded and said, "Well done." Yuta declared the goddess would die by his hand, and then collapsed. Asura caught him. Amused, he told Yuta that if he ever became stronger than him, he would let him try. Far away, deep within a forest, a mysterious masked figure watched the destruction from afar. Time passed, and Asura was seen meditating beneath a roaring waterfall. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, and he threw a punch so powerful that the ground beneath him cracked. The result confirmed what he already knew. He could not feel his internal energy at all. Asura clicked his tongue and realized he would need a different plan. He glanced at Yuta and kicked him without warning. Yuta sprang up instantly, drawing his weapon and preparing to fight, thinking Asura was trying to kill him. Asura scoffed and told him he still hadn't learned his lesson. He said he had no time for games and that every tower had to be destroyed as fast as possible. Yuta questioned why he should even help and suggested they focus on finding the goddess directly. Asura snapped and called him an idiot sandwich, yelling that the goddess was obviously hiding inside one of the towers and that destroying all of them would force her out. Yuta reluctantly agreed. Nova warned Yuta that Asura was far too dangerous to travel with, but Asura noticed him whispering and openly stated his displeasure with the partnership. Still, he admitted Yuta's swordsmanship was useful and pointed out that they were both chasing the same woman. Asura then declared that their bodies were far too weak to fight her and announced he would train them for a few days. Near one of the goddess-made towers, training began. Shockingly, Nova had become ridiculously muscular, built like a brick wall. She proudly called Asura master. Asura acknowledged her talent and said she might be useful. He then asked where Yuta was. Yuta appeared moments later, pathetically begging for a break, complaining about the training and questioning why Nova looked like that. His legs gave out and he collapsed. Asura called him pathetic and turned his attention to the tower, noting it felt stranger than the previous one. Nova asked how they were supposed to enter, since there was no entrance. Asura replied that an entrance wasn't necessary and that destroying the tower would end it. Nova stared at him in admiration as Asura prepared to strike. Yuta begged him to wait and think it through, but before he could finish, Asura threw a punch. Error windows flooded the air as purple smoke engulfed them. They were forcibly transported inside the tower. Yuta screamed at Asura, calling him insane. The scene shifted to a ruined city as a purple portal opened and the group emerged. Nova instantly reverted back to her small size. Yuta looked around, wondering if he had returned to his original world. But Nova told him to look behind him. Dead bodies of players littered the ground. Yuta realized immediately this was not his world. An ominous voice echoed, calling for them to heed its summons. Asura noticed the souls of dead players leaving their bodies and gathering together. Suddenly, a man flew in, boasting about newly summoned players and declaring resistance meaningless. He claimed only he would ever reach the tower. Raising his hand, he summoned a massive skeleton Spectre King. Yuta shouted a warning, but Asura had already charged his fist. One punch sent a shockwave that blew the top half of the skeleton's head clean off. Asura mocked the man, calling him a coward for hiding behind monsters. Amused, Temu-sung Jinwoo laughed and said it was curious for Asura to say that. He summoned even more monsters and declared he had changed his mind. Instead of killing Asura quickly, he wanted to see how long he could survive. 2 monsters lunged at Asura, but he casually slapped them away and asked the summoner if he truly dared to test him. The massive skeleton suddenly fired chains that wrapped around Asura's body, restraining him in place. A giant lion seized the opportunity and attacked from behind, slamming him into the ground with crushing force. Dust exploded everywhere, but moments later Asura hit him with a dismantle and sliced the lion into pieces. The summoner responded by spawning even more monsters directly on top of him, yet Asura simply stomped and blew them all away. A massive red ogre attempted a sneak attack, but Asura blocked it effortlessly with one hand. The summoner then summoned shackle wraiths beneath Asura's feet, attempting to bind him again. Suddenly, the summoner appeared behind Asura and questioned how he possessed so much power without stats or skills. In an instant, he drew dual blades, declaring he would absorb Asura's soul and inspect it himself. He activated his skill and charged forward. Yuta trembled, shocked that someone was challenging Asura head-on. Nova urgently told Yuta to run, warning him that this summoner was not an ordinary player, and that his presence felt similar to the goddess. The summoner began speaking about how his contract with the goddess was nearly complete, and that absorbing just one more player's soul will fulfill his agreement. Asura blitzed through every remaining monster, erasing them instantly and appearing behind him. Asura demanded to know where she was. The summoner smirked and summoned dozens of flying daggers, telling Asura it would not be that easy. The blade shot forward at once, but Asura blocked every single one and caught the final dagger between his fingers. He threw it back deliberately, missing, and the dagger struck the wall behind the summoner, shattering it. The summoner laughed, calling Asura absurd and saying he would finally take him seriously. He activated Armor of Hades and rushed in. Asura dodged and calmly asked if that was all. The summoner leapt into the air and delivered a powerful downward slash, but Asura blocked again, triggering a massive explosion. Through the smoke, the summoner laughed and asked if Asura was truly searching for the goddess, revealing that she was the one who granted him his power. He admitted he had not yet obtained full authority over the towers, so he made a contract with the goddess to offer 10,000 player souls in exchange for becoming the true successor of the tower. In a flash, he teleported behind Nova and ripped out her soul. Yuta tried to intervene, but one of the summoner's monsters impaled him through the stomach. A system announcement declared that the requirement of 10,000 souls had been completed and that full tower authority would unlock in 1 minute and 4 seconds. Asura calmly observed him and stated that he resembled a spirit mastery who manipulated vengeful spirits, mentioning that such lowly individuals once existed in his kingdom. Suddenly, Asura began using spirit arts. The summoner's expression changed as he realized the souls under control were being stolen by Asura, something that should have been impossible within the system. Then, before him, Asura summoned Nova and Yuta back and ordered them to destroy the summoner. Yuta regained consciousness and looked around in confusion. He clearly remembered being killed and immediately demanded Asura return his body. Asura told him he should be thanking him for saving his life. He explained that the summoner had used spirit arts to turn their souls into puppets, so Asura countered with his own spirit arts and blocked the control. He separated their souls from their bodies, so their physical forms could slowly regenerate. He also admitted he stole a portion of the souls the summoner had been controlling. Asura then ordered Nova and Yuta to show the summoner the power of true spirit arts. The summoner grew furious, accusing Asura of stealing his souls and mocking him for thinking two people would make a difference. Asura laughed and told him he was still judging strength based on numbers. Yuta charged forward and slashed the monster in half, the force of the strike cutting the top of a building behind it clean off. The summoner was shocked at the power Yuta was displaying when it had just been at death's door. More monsters rushed Nova, and Yuta panicked, thinking she had not awakened yet. But Nova opened her eyes and blew the monster's head off instantly. Yuta realized they had grown stronger thanks to spirit arts, but warned they could not maintain this form forever. As more monsters gathered, Asura glanced at the summoner and noticed him interacting with the system window. Asura told them carefully that the only way to stop him was to destroy that window. He explained that his Dantian was sealed, so he could not use his blast technique, meaning breaking it would not be simple. Yuta asked if there was another way since Asura could still use spirit arts. Asura replied that even without internal chi, he could gather external chi and compress enough power to imitate his blast. He then asked Nova to offer her soul energy to him. Suddenly, the summoner received a notification that his quest had failed due to not acquiring the final soul. He became enraged and declared he would personally destroy Asura. He summoned another wave of monsters and ordered them all to attack. Asura reminded Yuta they only had one chance and told him to open a path. Yuta swore he would do it no matter what and charged forward, unleashing celestial judgment to clear a massive portion of the army. The summoner laughed, calling them fools for wasting their power on the horde, and boasting that it barely dented the countless souls he possessed. In that instant, Asura appeared directly before him. Calling him predictable, Asura mocked how he checked his window every time spirits were destroyed. Asura gathered external chi, compressed it into his fist, and threw a punch so powerful it destroyed an entire city block and shattered the summoner's system window. The summoner stared in disbelief, unable to comprehend how such a thing was possible. His stats vanished, his power collapsed, and every captured soul was erased as the system flooded with errors. The data of the souls was corrupted, and his mission from the goddess was terminated. The scene shifted to Yuta, rising from the ground, fully returned to his body. He was stunned that his body had healed exactly as Asura predicted, and began to question who Asura truly was, and whether he even had limits. Behind him, the summoner screamed in denial, blaming Asura for destroying everything, and crying that the only way to save his world from destruction was now gone. Flashback begins. Lee Chan-woo walked to school with headphones on, lost in music, when portals suddenly tore open across the sky. The scene shifted to a city in ruins, buildings destroyed and bodies scattered everywhere. Chan-woo knelt before the goddess Asura as she offered him the chance to become a player. Flashback ends. Yuta asked Chan-woo what he meant about his world being destroyed and questioned whether he was not a player from a world like theirs. Lee Chan explained that when he became a player, his world was already doomed to fall to a wave of monsters. He believed he could save it with power, so he climbed the tower for that purpose alone. At the top, he learned the truth. The one who conquers the tower gains the authority to create a new world. Yuta was stunned. Lee Chan revealed he used that power to recreate his world inside the tower just before its destruction. He wanted to protect everyone with his new authority, but screamed that because of Asura and the others interfering, he failed. Asura cut him off and called him a coward. If he truly wanted to save everyone, why did he run when his world was being destroyed? Asura said Lee Chan never intended to save them, only to escape. He asked why he wanted to recreate the world instead of return to save it, and declared that building a fake world inside a tower was meaningless. Coldly, Asura told him he only wanted to play hero. Lee Chan shouted back and swung at Asura, but Asura backhanded him away effortlessly. Lee Chan repeated to himself that he did it to save everyone. Another flashback appeared. The goddess told Lee Chan he had cleared all stages. He could return to his world before destruction and fight the monster wave, or accept a mission, inherit the tower's power, and recreate his world inside it. He chose to inherit the tower's power. Flashback ends. Warning messages filled the sky as the tower system began collapsing and data deletion started. Yuta and Nova noticed the structure crumbling and asked Asura what to do. Li Chan spoke weakly, recalling something the goddess once told him, that all towers were connected by a single path. He did not know what that path was, but believed if they reached its end, they would find her there. Yuta asked why he was saying all this. Li Chan answered that the memories he tried to erase had returned. He now understood, just like Asura said, he was a coward who ran from reality. Even if he faced it now, nothing would change because he had already given up returning. He said the exit was behind them and told them to leave before it vanished. Asura said he might be a coward but not pathetic, and allowed him to choose his own end. He added that when he destroyed the goddess, he would consider Li Chan's share as well. Yuta asked if Asura truly intended to leave him there, and suggested he come with them to find the goddess together. Asura told Yuta to be quiet, reminding him he had lost a life or death battle. Sparing the loser and allowing him to decide his own end was the greatest mercy he could give. Nova urged Yuta to hurry as the tower collapsed, but Yuta refused to leave Li Chan. He lifted him and moved toward the portal. Li Chan asked why Yuta was saving someone with no power or purpose. Yuta answered that even without a reason to live, if someone keeps living, they will eventually find one, so he should not throw his life away. Li Chan asked for Yuta's name, and after exchanging names, they even lightly mocked each other's. Li Chan then made a final request. A glowing orb formed in his hand. He asked Yuta to use this power for the right cause. Yuta tried to stop him, but Li Chan explained that without the system his body could not be maintained outside the tower. As he began to disappear, he told Yuta to return to his original world. Yuta called out to him one last time while holding the orb. A system message warned the tower would collapse in 1 second, and all data would be erased. A massive black hole formed above, swallowing the tower whole. Another system message declared that tower number 312 had been destroyed. The scene shifted to the goddess watching through a window. She stood and smiled, saying Asura had only destroyed one tower and would need to try much harder than that, and calls him unstat player. The tower vanished as they watched from a distance. Yuta reflected on how he failed to save Li Chan. He remembered that when Li Chan's stat window shattered, his physical body disintegrated. Yet Yuta himself had not died when his own window broke. He wondered if he still carried some remnant of the system's power inside him. Asura asked why he looked so serious and guessed it was because Li Chan died, remarking that Yuta was more emotional than he appeared. Yuta admitted he felt uneasy about it. Li Chan had been their enemy, yet his ending felt bittersweet. Yuta said he did not understand the power Li Chan left behind, so he intended to give the orb to Asura, believing it was the right choice. Asura examined it and said he could sense the goddess's chi within the orb, and that it might help unseal his dantian. Yuta asked if that meant Asura would regain his full strength. Asura told him not to get ahead of himself. The orb contained only a fraction of her power, nowhere near enough to fully undo the seal. Yuta asked what a dantian even was, and insisted Asura was already strong without it. Asura explained that until now he had relied purely on external arts, physical strength alone. If his dantian were restored, he could use internal energy, channeling chi throughout his body to unleash power that surpassed external force. Yuta compared it to a magic skill, and wondered how high Asura's stats would be with system window. Nova looked confused, and Yuta tried to explain, but Asura struck the back of his head and asked if he was still measuring strength through blue windows and numbers. Yuta complained about his sharp ears and asked what true strength meant. Asura called him foolish and answered that strength was built from blood, sweat, training, and relentless effort. He described swinging his fist 1,000 times a day and asked if someone who swung it 1,001 times would automatically be stronger. He said no. It was not about numbers, but about how desperately one yearned for power with each strike. True strength was forged through the process of dedicating one's entire heart to a goal. To demonstrate, Asura threw a punch that obliterated a vast stretch of forest. Yuta and Nova were stunned. Asura asked if they understood now, then turned his attention back to the orb. Frustrated by the unknown forces and by Myowool's involvement in everything, the scene shifted to a mountain peak. Asura tossed the orb to Yuta and asked if it was his first time seeing it up close. Yuta replied sarcastically that it would have been if Asura had not destroyed his system window along with the tower. He admitted he once believed everything would be resolved upon reaching the top. Suddenly, Asura sensed another presence nearby. Yuta was shocked he noticed nothing. Asura, wondered the hidden figure also sought the orb's power and ordered them to reveal themselves. A masked individual emerged. Yuta asked if it was a surviving monster, but noticed there was no red aura. Asura demanded to know who the stranger was. Instead of answering, the stranger charged and swung an axe. Asura ducked and countered with a punch that sent the attacker flying upward. Midair, the stranger activated axe style or a splitter and brought the weapon down with enough force to crack the ground. Asura caught the axe with his bare hand, though blood dripped from his palm. He complimented the stance, then tightened his grip and shattered the axe before pulling the stranger in and punching him across a mountain. Asura told them to try harder. The stranger declared they could not forgive the group for destroying their tower. Yuta suddenly realized who it was. The mask fell, revealing a girl. She demanded to know again why they destroyed her tower.